I am a firm believer that you can't have an amazing relationship, at least long-term, without connection. A lot of people get by on that initial hype, all right, that initial excitement. Oh, they're so wonderful, their resume is so great, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool, but that's not gonna sustain you. Is there something deeper there? Can you two truly be each other, be yourselves with each other? Open up, share your inner thoughts, be emotionally naked with this person. If you can, and you still enjoy their presence, enjoy speaking to them, you feel good when they're around you. Okay, we got something we can work with here. Even if everything's not in perfect alignment, we have the foundation to now grow the relationship. But without that, it's just fluff.
Is connection something that's created, or is it just, does it only happen between certain people?
It only happens between certain people.
Really?
It's either there or it's not.
And you should know it in the first few minutes, or is it maybe it takes...
I won't say you'll know it in the first few minutes. I think it can vary. I think it depends on how spiritually in tuned you are, or how emotionally grounded you are. If you're in a very emotionally healthy place, I do think you're gonna recognize it very quickly, all right? But a lot of times, you pick up on it, but you're scared to embrace it. You're still rationalizing what's going on here. And we've been programmed to believe it all takes time. So when we see this experience where two people it's like this, they click, and they're feeling these intense feelings right away, everyone else is saying, slow down, this can't be real, or you're jumping the gun. In reality, no. Because in most situations, let's just say if not in a few minutes, the first date, people know. People know, like, there's potential here or there's not, or this one could be the one or they're not. But we rationalize why we should entertain this and move further, give it a chance, waste our time, and then we find ourselves stuck in situations we don't belong in. And now we try to make it work because we've invested so much, and we don't want to now admit that we were wrong or we wasted our time, we're lonely. Various reasons cause us to hang on to situations we don't belong in. But we knew from the beginning. Like when I speak to people who are divorced and I ask them,
when did you know?
When did you know? Yeah.
A lot of people like my wedding day, or like, it's
exactly.
Like, I knew when I was walking down the aisle. You're like, why did you get married?
Exactly.
I hate when people answer that way. I'm like, why would you get married?
And even way before then. Forget the marriage day might have been when reality truly hit, or they allowed themselves to see it. But then at that point, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you got to follow through. Your family's there, and you don't want to be embarrassed.
Exactly. But again, the reality is that person saw it way before. But again, they rationalized past it then. And now they found themselves in this more difficult position, and they can't do anything about it.
And then they get a divorce a year or two later. They
25 years later. I know, listen, I know one couple who were married for 25 years. After they got divorced, everyone was against it because on the outside looking in, they looked like this great couple, all right? But they were miserable, all right, behind closed doors. Well, the wife let me read a letter that the husband wrote her before they got married.
No way.
I read this letter, and the first thing I say is, why did you ever get married? It was clear as day in this letter that you guys should not have taken that step.
What did it say generally?
It was just in general calling out all these different issues and problems. It was a clear disconnect between the two. And once I started to learn the real story, you saw that they did not have that deep connection. They were two people who did not fit together. And what they lacked was the other thing I was going to bring up as far as what people need is balance, all right? I think too many times we're fixated on equality and not enough on balance.
What's the difference?
The difference is this. Equality is almost like, all right, LeBron and Dwayne Wade join together. They both are alpha males of their team. They're both superstars. They both can shoot. There's some level of equality there. But you know what? They could not win a championship until one decided who's going to be the main person here. It wasn't about equality, it was about balance. It was about complementing each other, learning how to work together. D-Wade or the rest of the team being able to do the things that LeBron can't do everything on his team. He needs the right players around him. So it's the same thing in relationships. It's not about they have to be able to do everything we do. We got to be able to do everything they do. It's about, can we complement each other? Can we balance each other? Can I fit in? Or can I have the strengths where you have the weaknesses, all right? And in a way that doesn't conflict. And I believe the conflict part is when you don't have a connection, they will conflict. When there is a connection, that's when you're gonna find balance. Because now when there's a connection, we embrace our differences.
You can communicate better. You can say, this is what you're really good at. Why don't you do more of these things and let me do these things?
Exactly. And we can find a way to make it a whole unit.
Wow.
That's how we create amazing relationships. Balance to me is the greatest key. Balance and connection, you have those two things, you win.
Wow.
You know, and if you look at most failed relationships, they lack those two things.
Two things, connection
and balance.
There might be some forced connection, or they've lost the connection because it wasn't really
they never had the connection.
It was never true. It was like the hype of the connection. It
exactly.
was like the sexual connection, or the resume of this person, or the idea of this person.
Well, it was more so chemistry. Like chemistry is not connection. All right, chemistry can be created. All right, and again, so using the whole basketball analogy, a team comes together, you can build chemistry. We can learn how to work together. We can learn how to coexist, so to speak. But that doesn't mean we really like each other at its core, all right?
Yeah.
There's the difference. So you can have a team where the players learn to play together, but they still hate each other, all right?
So they had chemistry.
But no connection.
But not connection.
Exactly. When you have connection in a relationship, that is way more important than chemistry, because the connection will bring the chemistry. We don't got to worry about the chemistry part. When two people have a connection, they learn.
It's
exactly. And it's a rare thing. Again, we don't experience that with everybody. It's something that happens. It's rare to find someone who can say they've had that deep, genuine connection more than 2 times in their life, if even twice. All right, it's usually once, to be honest with you.
Wow.
But I'm gonna give it 2 times. And yes, there are gonna be some people out there that say, well, there's billions of people in this world. It's not about, yes, is it technically possible? Maybe so, but you're not gonna come across billions of people in the world. You're only gonna come across a certain amount of individuals. And in that group of people, yes, you're only going to find that connection maybe once or twice. And once you get there, like once somebody sets the bar that high in your life, it is very hard
to go. Yeah, you have to refine that.
Exactly. You're not going to feel comfortable anymore going beneath that. If you do, you're going to find yourself not at peace and very miserable in your relationship.
Wow. Connection, balance. Is there anything else, or is those really the main 2 things, and then everything else is figure out?
The last thing I'm going to throw in is attraction, and the reason I throw it in is because I feel like in this world we try to shame people for putting a focus on attraction. And to me, it's not about looks. Looks is about specifically saying you have to look like this, you have to be this tall, you have to have this body shape. I'm not saying looks, I'm saying attraction. We have to be physically drawn to each other. That's the last ingredient that takes a relationship from platonic to romantic. And that's the ingredient that if you remove it, will make a romantic relationship.
Friends.
Exactly, yeah. Friends, roommates. You got people living together.
With no sexual chemistry.
Exactly. Because why? The attraction is gone. But if you bring it back into that relationship, see how quickly things change.
Wow.
That is the ingredient. So we have to be willing to embrace the fact of, yes, attraction is necessary, one, when we first meet each other, and we need that to be more drawn to each other. But then to maintain and sustain that great relationship, we can't make excuses for letting ourselves go. And understand there's a difference between aging and letting yourself go. A lot of people are letting themselves go, making excuses for it.
Right.
I understand life hits us, it's tougher as we get older, yes, but you gotta work to maintain attraction in your relationship. You let that go to the wayside.
Become friends.
Exactly.
How important is sex in a relationship?
Hugely important.
This is coming from a guy who's abstinent, right?
Yeah, right. Well, you know what, to me, I say hugely important from the standpoint of, I think people have to look at sex not just from the perspective of pleasure, but from the perspective of bonding. I believe it is an opportunity for 2 people to grow closer together. And when 2 people know how to truly satisfy each other, it creates an amazing bond.
Deeper connection, better balance.
Exactly.
More attraction.
Yes.
All of it. Keeps it going.
Exactly. Because if you have 2 unsatisfied people sexually, you're going to have a problem. You can't find a relationship where that exists and they're all happy and everything's great. It doesn't work that way. People crave intimacy. People crave that level of bonding with each other. And yes, biologically speaking, we can talk about the needs of a man and a woman and all these things, but I think even going deeper spiritually and all that, sex is important. And we are not taking enough of a mature approach to understanding and learning sex. I think people are very much behind in their understanding of
Especially in America, it's like we weren't educated.
Exactly.
It's very hush-hush type of thing. It's not talked about in schools. Your parents, at least most parents, aren't talking about it until it's like the moment, and it's like, let me say something to just get it out, and then let them figure it out.
Well, and not just that, a lot of our parents don't know either.
Right.
Like, people just don't take time to get more educated on their bodies, on sex, on true sexual satisfaction. There's a lot of lies going on. I tell people all the time, listen, a lot of women aren't being sexually satisfied, all right? But they're lying to their friends, they're lying to their partners. Right. So there's a perception that everything is all good. No, it's not. There's a huge disconnect between the reality or the perception of women's sexual satisfaction and the reality of women's sexual satisfaction. And that contributes to a disconnect in marriages. Because again, if the woman is not satisfied, she now becomes less willing to be sexually involved with her husband. Now, he starts to gain resentment. He starts to feel neglected.
Starts to wander.
Exactly. Every snowballs from there. We can't overlook that and act like everything's going to be fine. And we can't say, well, you should love them enough to where it doesn't matter. Listen, we're talking about maintaining a committed relationship. That's a part of it. Plain and simple. And we have to learn how to make it better on both sides and how to be more honest with each other. I think if we can learn to be more honest and transparent, then we can work on the things that are lacking.
Wow.
But people, again, they feel very uncomfortable speaking about sex, speaking about their needs, and constructively criticizing their partners. We have to learn how to do that.
You don't want to hurt someone, yeah. So
exactly.
How often should we be talking about our sexual needs in an intimate relationship? Should it be like once a month we sit down and like schedule it out? Is it like pillow talk every week? Like, what should be, again, everyone's different, but what do you think is an appropriate amount of time?
Yeah, I think it depends. So what jumps in my head, I would say every 3 months, if I had to put a number on it, all right? But I do think it depends on the couple. I think more so it's when an issue arises, talk about it.
There you go.
The key is we have to create environments where we can have those talks. See, again, we're laying the wrong foundations in our relationships to where we can't have these open discussions about sex and other things lacking in our relationship. And we're afraid to push our partners away. We're afraid to ruffle the feathers or rock the boat. But if you can't talk to them...
We resent things, right?
Exactly. And what happens is you hold it in, and now the negative energy comes out in other ways. And now they're confused because they're like, why are they giving me this attitude? And they're thinking, like I said earlier, he's thinking it's about the towel. No, it's not about the towel. It's really about something else that you're not telling him. So we need to be more honest and transparent, and we need to create an environment where we can have this talk and you're not going to take it personally to the where you're going to internalize it or allow it to now throw our relationship off because you're getting upset and you're allowing it to, have a negative impact. No, take it as, okay, that's how you feel. Cool. Let's work on this. How can we make this better? We have to be serious about tending to the needs of our partner if we're going to have successful relationships.
Yeah. There's so many divorces happening. It's higher than ever, right?
Yeah.
I think we had a divorce attorney on who's talking about how it's higher than ever. There's also even more people who stay married who probably should be divorced, who aren't happy. And so it sounds like there's a very small percentage of married people who've been together for many years who are actually still thriving in relationship. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more, but it sounds like it, right? There's a very small percentage that are having like these incredible, long-lasting marriages and relationships that have the attraction and connection and balance and all these things. Why do you think that is, and how can we decrease the number of failed relationships? Or is that the wrong question to ask?
No, I think it's a good question. I think, one, we have to understand marriage is not the issue. It's marrying the wrong person and marrying for the wrong reasons, all right? And then underlying to those things is the lack of healing. Because it's the lack of healing that leads us into these wrong relationships and allows us to entertain situations we should not entertain. Because again, for example, if you're a guy or woman, if you've been through some things and now you think you don't deserve that great person, that great relationship, because your perception of yourself is low, now you're gonna just latch on to whoever comes around who says, I wanna be with you and willing to give you what you want at that moment.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, this is safe, this will work, let me go ahead and go with it, but you're never truly into them like that. It's never gonna be the relationship it needs to be. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. One of those habits of a man you should not marry is he's complacent, All right, now I want to read you the exact definition before I break this down. All right, the definition of complacent is showing